Hello and welcome back to the Eastern Mediterranean Times. I'm your host, Martin Mont.
And I'm your host, Joshua Litke.
Alright, getting right back into it. The ceasefire in Gaza has ended this week. The Israeli military reignited operations specifically focused in the southern region of Gaza, and this has come after the hostage negotiation that was successful last week, but the campaign has been reignited.
Yeah, so we're looking at a breakdown of that initial truce, which wasn't supposed to last for a very long time. It actually lasted for multiple days and a full week after.
Actually, further than it was supposed to.
Yeah, but nonetheless, we're still seeing an increase now. It's not just in northern Gaza, but now also in southern Gaza. The Israeli military is pushing in, leaving a lot less space for refugees to flee to in their counter-terror operations against Hamas. So looking at all of this, the Biden administration and the world has reacted fairly neutrally to these new developments. The Biden administration's continuing to support Israel, but not necessarily going as far as to say that military aid is coming soon to them. More so looking at potentially trying to push more human rights and more humanitarian aid to the Palestinians.
Absolutely, and a continuous ceasefire or a re-up of the last ceasefire is also still on the table, especially with the Biden administration pushing that. The word on the street, still looking at a ceasefire of some means in the future, but the deal that we had fell through, and operations have started again.
Yes.
So, now looking over into the Balkans, Serbia expelled a Croatian diplomat, and it's causing concerns for regional peace. Croatia then expelled the Serbian diplomat that was in Croatia, so it's a tit-for-tat politic game, but it comes after regional tensions have been cooking pretty high in the Balkans. Serbia moving forces south toward Albania a couple weeks ago, and really stationing a lot of presence there. There was a killing of a police officer earlier this year that sparked tensions between those two countries, and now we're seeing the embassy in Belgrade saying that the Croatian ambassador will be a persona non grata, meaning that they are excluded from the diplomatic rights that you normally get, being in the world of diplomacy and being able to travel freely between the two countries. And they're saying those rights are going to be gone. This comes after just accusations and tensions rising between the two countries.
Yeah, and we've been seeing this a lot with Serbia lately, where Serbia was, at first, it looked like it was making strides towards a potential EU membership, but since the incidences in Kosovo, and also now with Croatia, Albania, they're starting to seem to move a lot more closer to Russia and a lot further away from the European Union. They're starting to pick a side in these conflicts.
Croatia is one of the newest members to the EU.
Yes.
That should be noted. That's definitely one of the things that to look out for. And again, the diplomat was accused of spying on and working with the Croatian intelligence services within Belgrade. That's why he was kicked out. That accusation has been said to be not true by the Croatian government, and that's also coming from the EU saying that wasn't happening. So it's a big step in the wrong direction when it comes to regional security, regional peace. So it's something to look out for.
Yep.
Now, moving over, a follow-up on a story we covered last week. It's continued to unravel relations between the British and the Greek governments over this clash of custody of the artifacts, specifically marbles from the Parthenon that are being held in the British Museum.
Yeah, so we're seeing this kind of drama continue, which usually is a sign when governments are focusing on these cultural issues that things might be getting a little tougher economically, which we can certainly see in Greece, and we can definitely see in the United Kingdom as well in the present. So they're starting to look more at culture aspects to kind of regain some popularity amongst their constituents and the citizens of their countries. And we're seeing this trend continue with there being no meeting between Mitsotakis and Rishi Sunak.
There was supposed to be a meeting last Tuesday. They didn't show up.
Yep.
Rishi Sunak didn't see Mitsotakis, which is something that has been seen earlier this year. President Biden visited Turkey. Erdogan said, unfortunately, I cannot meet. I'm not in. That set a precedent. And now Rishi Sunak doesn't want to meet Mitsotakis because now they're both on opposite sides of the fence over this non-pivotal, non-trivial, non-geopolitical issue.
Yeah, and we've seen this even continued with the monarchy in the United Kingdom, with King Charles wearing a tie with the Greek flag on it, kind of pointing to his Greek heritage at the COP28 summit when he was making his speech and meeting with Sunak, something that a lot of critics of the monarchy has said is going against the government.
Absolutely, and it definitely points to the fact that there's big schisms within the British government in terms of legitimacy. The Tory party losing a lot of that legitimacy,
yes,
and Sunak not being able to get much of that back, no matter who he installs within his cabinet.
Yes, he's still well underwater with approval ratings, and the Labour Party is still riding very high in the polls for the next election.
Absolutely. Now, moving on to COP28, it was just mentioned some progress made for financing at COP28, but not a whole lot of progress made in the legitimacy department, actually reversed. So you want to give me something on that?
Yeah, so COP28 is currently happening right now in Dubai, with the main goals being global cooperation on climate change mitigation and adaptation strategies, kind of the normal COP elements. However, specifically focusing more on adaptation than mitigation, which is kind of out of the normal, which goes to that legitimacy question. We're also seeing some progress being made, though, at this COP with climate financing, which it seems that a lot of European Union nations, the United States, and other developed countries,
specifically the G7,
yes, have been more on board with getting some monetary help to the developing world to address renewable energy projects, environmental protection and anti-deforestation measures, and general climate mitigation strategies.
Yeah, and one of the countries focused on the deforestation efforts and the mining regulations is actually Brazil. They've deployed security forces within the Amazon after the COP conference or during the COP conference in order to start destroying illegal mining equipment. And they've actually made some progress in reforming the actual land rights and affirming to which company owns what land. And that's going to be something that the United States and the rest of the G7 looks at and says, how can we use this, how can we manipulate this model to work in other places?
Yeah, and we're seeing the United States also hopping on board with methane regulations and also contributing $3 billion to the Green Climate Fund, which will be going to the whole world in investment projects. We're also seeing from the Eastern Mediterranean, Italy contributing $100 million to UN climate development programs, and Greece also looking at trying to further regulate the shipping industry to make their shipping industry a leader in the transit sector for being environmentally friendly.
And these all come after tremendous amount of environmental impact on Greece, Italy, a lot of the Eastern Med this summer,
yes,
with extreme weather events. These are investment projects that are going to be demanded by constituencies, especially ones that have been weathered by these storms in the past year.
For sure.
All right. Well, that has been your weekly update by the Eastern Mediterranean Times. I've been your host, Martin Mond.
And I've been your host, Joshua Litke.
Signing off. Have a great week.